Broadcasts of the City of Neenah Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin-Fox Valley. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents via the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues or about these broadcasts by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or by completing the electronic feedback form on the city website, www.neenahgov.org. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.
All right, I'd like to call to order the City of Neenah Common Council meeting for Wednesday, February 5th, 2020. The first item of business will be the roll call. If the members would sign in on the roll call machine and answer the clerk as your name is called, please.
Alderman Boyette.
Here.
Bates.
Here.
Lang.
Here.
Lendrum.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Bellman.
Here.
Steele. Coons.
Here.
Stevenson.
Here.
There are 8 members present. Alderman Steele is out of town and is excused. So there's a quorum present. The Pledge of Allegiance tonight will be led by Alderman Lendrum.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, liberty and justice.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. Tonight on our agenda, we have a item right off the beginning here. We're going to start with an update on the our Evolve system. This is our inspection software system. This will be brought to us by Brian Walter and Katie Osthelder. So, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Clerk, could you project up, please?
Tell me something.
There it is.
There we go.
Thank you. We were asked to come here and basically explain what we bought a couple of years ago and show you what you bought actually a few years ago. Before I get started, I need to thank Katie. It was a huge part in getting this software up and running. The installation of the software fell onto community development staff pretty much. And so Katie and I were tasked with getting this up and running, getting it interfaced with our assessment software, with the finance software. So without Katie, we wouldn't be here right now talking about this. I wanted to start by just going back in time a little bit for a second. I understand I don't have an hour here, but I'll go fast. In 1985, this is what our computer system looked like. I brought it from Menasha. I was in Menasha prior to coming here in 1985. When I was hired here, I borrowed this software and brought it along, and that's probably the only reason I got the job, actually. It was a package deal.
Illegal acquisition.
Yes. But it was good. It was a good system, and it was state-of-the-art at the time. And as a matter of fact, we had people coming from Milwaukee, Green Bay to come and look, because we were one of the first inspection departments with Menasha to actually have a computerized inspection permit system. And it worked okay, but as you can see, it's antiquated, and we worked with it for many years, improved on it, but it could get us just so far, and we needed to start thinking about replacing it with the modern era of computers and phones and tablets. And so about 6 years ago, we started investigating alternatives, and I spent a lot of time going to other cities, seeing what they were using. We demoed a lot of software through those couple of years, Some of them very expensive, some of them a little less expensive, but none of them really built for a city of our size. So we demoed, here's a few examples of some that we demoed. They all kind of look the same, but when you dig into them, each of them did different things better than others. We ended up with Evolve. When we discovered Evolve, because it had been installed in Oshkosh, actually. It came from an out-of-state vendor. Oshkosh purchased it, and then Wausau purchased it, and we were right behind them. And the advantage to having those two cities near us was that their tech support was in the valley already. They could come see us at a moment's notice. They had already been dealing with Market Drive, our current assessment software. So they were ready to hit the ground running, and their bids came in, when we bid it out, came in under budget. And so it clearly, quickly came to the top of our list. It was an internet browser system, which allowed us to use the software in the fields, which is something I really wanted to do. Prior to that, we had to carry folders and plans with us out to the field. With this program, we could use our tablets, go out and do inspections, and saved us an enormous amount of time. It also had GIS integration, which was great because we could pull up to a property, bring up a map, and find all the permits for that property that we were parked in front of. This is just a quick rundown of what the software looks like. Like I said, it looks pretty much like the other ones, but as you can see, each tab as I go across, it compiled the data really well, organized it all. One of the things that it allowed us to do was issue one permit for projects instead of, in the previous system, we had to issue 4 or 5 permits for each new project, one for each of the subcontractors and then the main building permit. This software was set up so that we could issue one permit to the main contractor all at one time. All of the inspections are kept all within the system, and the contractor gets an email notification every time that we do an inspection and we hit approved or not approved. The contractor immediately got an email. Those emails are kept integrated right in the system. So all the communications that we had with the builders were immediately being saved right into the system, saving us an enormous amount of time in-house, also saving the contractors an enormous amount of time. We could also attach any kind of document we wanted to the permit. You can see on that little list there, there's plans, there's the permits, and all the various attachments that come with it. So when I get out into the field, we can see the project on GIS, we can drill down, we can get to the plans, standing there with a simple tablet. Myself and the builder or the contractor can go over the plans, look for questions that needed to be answered, and having that access to that information was invaluable to us in the field. It saved us a lot of time. We knew there were going to be benefits on our side. We anticipated those. Some of the benefits we did not anticipate, and I'll go through that in a second, but the benefits to our inspectors, we had real-time access, as I mentioned, to documents, including contact information, plans, inspection results, and any inspection photos were emailed to the contractor. So now when I'm standing there and I see something wrong in the job, I take a picture, I hit send, and it sends a picture of what I needed fixed instead of me sitting on the phone trying to explain what was going on. The builders loved it. And as I stated before, when possible, permits and projects were bundled together into one project. So now none of the subcontractors have to come in for permits, saving them an enormous amount of time. The electrical, heating, and plumbing contractor didn't have to come into the office or mail or do anything like that. The software was configured, like I said, to auto email back to the builders. It was also configured to auto email electrical service clearances. As you realize, people are changing electric service in the city every day. We do several of these daily, of these service changes on homes. In the past, we would have to call back to the office, tell our staff, this project is ready to be hooked up. They would have to log into the We Energy software. It involved 2, 3, 4 people just to get the power turned back on. Now, with the click of a button, the software immediately sends the clearance right to the power company, saving our staff an enormous amount of time. The software is configured to email state reporting that's required. That took, every week, took a fair amount of time preparing these reports, mailing it to the state, later on emailing it to the state. This software does it automatically. I have not found another software that integrates with the state system like ours does. And that's one of the benefits to this vendor that we've bought. They were very flexible and could customize things for us. Our online portal is another big hit with the contractors. On our website, there's a portal where the contractors can log in. They can apply for permits. Homeowners can also go in and apply for permits. And use of the portal is going up continuously as people discover it and as contractors become familiar with it, saving everybody another trip to City Hall. And they can do it on Saturdays, Sundays, on their free time, whenever they want. The benefits to the other staff, this is some of the surprises, was we didn't really know what the benefits were to the other staff in the office, but there actually were more benefits to them than to the actual inspectors. Like I stated before, we almost eliminated mailings because the online applications and the emailing back and forth of those applications and permits automatically through the system. I stated before, we bundle those permits together. Now all these subcontractors, we're not handling all that mail from all those additional permits per project. The applicants can now pay for permits with credit cards online. So the traffic in the office has dropped way down. We send an email saying this is how much you owe. They pay for it right online. And as I said, this is growing. I believe it's probably closer to 30% now of permits are paid with credit cards. Another big problem is at the end of projects, often a project is finished the day before the closing, like a new home. They need our final inspection before they can close on their loan. And they are literally sitting in the office waiting for us to do our inspection. In the past, we would have to call back to the office. The staff would have to drop whatever they were doing, create a certificate of occupancy, email it to the closing company, involve 3, sometimes 4 different people. Now with the click of the button in the field, the software immediately sends that certificate right to the builder who's sitting in the office and can get on with their closing. I went over this already, the emailing of clearances to We Energy so they can hook up power. Again, I stated that the email correspondences are saved and attached right to the project. Prior, an additional staff was needed. Our secretarial staff was scanning in items into the project by hand. Reduction of office traffic. We don't have the distractions of people coming into the office quite so much, so the staff can work on their stuff. The plans, documents, and all the information related to the projects are integrated right into the system, eliminating, by our estimates, 80% of the manual scanning that we used to do. The documents are kept indefinitely this way. All the documents are so easily kept that they're in there forever for historical preservation. The permit information is integrated right into the assessor's files. Prior to this, I would create a permit. The assessors would literally recreate the permit, duplicating the data entry to get it into their system. With the flexibility of the system that we bought, they were able to program it to send that information right into Market Drive, which is huge savings for the assessment staff. We also are using Evolve. It's got other functions for licensing. We're using it for home occupations, bees, chickens, sandwich boards, street furniture, rooming houses. We also are using it in other departments as they see us using it. Planning department is starting to use it now. Public Works Department has been using it for some time for their permits that they issue. Katie is using it for weights and measures as well. And the biggest benefit we discovered that we did not anticipate was to the homeowners, our stakeholders, the applicants and the contractors. Like I said, they can apply for permits online anywhere 24/7. They don't have to drive from wherever they're from, Green Bay, all the way to here just to apply for a permit, and then possibly wait in the office. They can now pay for permits online with credit cards. They love that. They're using it more all the time. Again, they often would have to come back a second time just to pay for the permit. The permits are being bundled together, so now these 4 to 6 subcontractors don't have to deal with getting permits from us on most of these projects. They're able to double up on the contractor, and the contractor takes out their permits for them. Applicants who create accounts, some of them can create their own account that gives them even more access than normal, and they can keep track of their entire history of their permits that are theirs, and their inspection results. So there's this history that they can go back themselves and look into. Like I said before, the inspection results are auto-emailed to the contractors instantly. Photos, if I take them, are sent right along with that email. As I said before, the certificate of occupancies are now getting to them right on time. All the plans and documents, I said, are kept forever so that they can come back and check. They do an open records request. The online portal system, this is what I'm talking about, that we have a public-facing part of the software that most other softwares don't have. This one has this public-facing one where people can log in, apply for all the permits that are listed there. They can also look at their permits historically that they've applied for. You'll see halfway down, Katie's going to be talking about this, code enforcement. There's a search on there that anybody can log into and look up active code enforcement issues that are going on. So I can't stress to you enough how much the contractors have come to me and said, we are way ahead of other cities, and they greatly appreciate what we've done. And so it was, in my mind, it was money well spent. And I think if you actually did the math, it's paid for itself already. Possibly just in staff time, but when you consider the savings to our stakeholders, our owners and the builders, it's more than paid for itself, and it was well worth the effort. And I will turn it over to Katie for more.
Brian covered the.
Speak a question in?
Sure can.
You mentioned the online portal, and can regular citizens use that portal to see, they hear something going on next door, they see a pile of lumber in the driveway, and we don't see those little green signs anymore. Can they look it up as well?
They can't search the permits, the general search of permits, because it's associated to account, but they'd be able to search cases. So if they were called in something for junk or parking, they could.
Or more like,
They can actually.
Can they search them?
They can actually search for permits. There's a permit search function on there where you can plug in an address and see any active permits. So if they don't see anything
so if somebody's
on-
doing their basement over and they don't see one, they'll give us a call and say, hey.
Right, so the portal does have a permit search as well as a code.
And you don't need an account for that?
No,
Oh,
anybody
thank you.
can look at that.
All right, I was wrong. This is Brian's expertise. So Brian reviewed the inspections part. The other big piece to our software was code enforcement, which was implemented February of 2017. It was before the inspections by a couple months because they recommended doing the smaller piece first to get used to the software. And we originated previously, we were also in the what we called the green screen, or that same archaic screen that Brian showed. So that's where code enforcement lived as well. So we were able to pull that piece out. For code enforcement, in the past, pre-evolve, whenever we received a complaint or a concern, it was handwritten on a sticky note. It was just relayed verbally to the inspector. It was sent in an email. Therefore, it wasn't always relayed. Some things were lost in translation. Not all the information was gathered when they had talked to the person who reported the concern. which also made it hard because sometimes the calls were anonymous, so the inspector couldn't follow up to even get the information that they needed. And if they went out and found that there wasn't a violation, there was never a record of that complaint in the old system because there was no way to put it into the system for historical purposes. Now with Evolve, whenever somebody calls in or emails or reports a problem, whoever takes that complaint or concern opens up the template that you see there on the right, and all the purple fields are required. So the information is gathered the first time around when they talk to the person. The inspector's getting the information that they need, or at least the bare minimum information that's available, and whoever's taking the concern is prompted with those questions through the template. And therefore, the concern and complaint is also kept for historical purposes because then the inspector goes through, enters in if there is no violation or a violation, and it's in there for future purposes. It also makes it easier for a citizen if they called in and just talked to the front desk looking for an update. They can open this and easily see what the inspector has done with it. And with the letters pre-evolve, the letters were very standard, very limited on what we could edit or add. The pretext was in there. It was an entire code section, and we had an area underneath for free text where we could type in the description of what needed to be corrected. The letters were very vague, and we could add in, but it was also complicated for the citizen to be able to understand what we're looking for. There was also, if the 3 or 4 templates we had didn't work, there was one generic letter that we could use and just type in underneath. So it was very hard to relay the right information. And also, if there was a junk and debris and a parking violation, we had to generate and send 2 letters, which were then 2 cases that would come back up in the future. Where with the new system, we're able to create letters. All the violations are on one letter, whether they're junk and debris, parking, public works, they're all included on one letter. The letter is standardized, but it's also customizable on a case-by-case basis. So at any point, we can make changes to anything that you see in that letter. And we are also able to write a required action or clarification under each violation. So it's not just all at the bottom, it's under each one, as well as individual compliance dates. Also pre-evolve, very basic, but when we come to mailing letters, pre-evolve, the inspector would print the letter, the secretary would then print the envelope or type the address, print the envelope, and then mail the letter, where with evolve, everything was formatted to fit into the window envelope. So the inspector can print the letter, put it in the envelope, and mail it, all without the help or reliance of anybody else. Also pre-evolve, we were not able to add notes or document other correspondence within the I-series. So occasionally a document would be printed and scanned in, or an email would be scanned in, but most of the time it was left up to the inspector's memory or a note that they had jotted down in regards to that case. Within Evolve, it's really easy to add a note, document a phone call, correspondence relevant to the case. It's about 2 clicks and you can type in your note, and then it's right there in the history of the case. So again, anybody in the office can see it if somebody were to follow up or ask a question on that. Pre-evolve, when we went to save letters and pictures for future use or future reference, we had to, the inspector printed out an office copy with the owner copy. The office copy was then scanned in with any associated pictures, independent, uploaded into another program, which was IMS 21. So it was very manual process, and a lot of people were involved in it again. And then after that office copy was scanned, it was typically disposed of. So it was very limited use. With Evolve, same thing with Brian's. As soon as something's generated, it saves it automatically right into the software. So we're not printing out, rescanning, attaching. And with the pictures, when we do the inspection or document the inspection, any related pictures are put right in there at that same time. Or if a letter's returned on deliverable or an owner sends a written response, that can all be attached right in that case. Previously with pre-evolve, when we needed to follow up on a case, every Monday that inspector received a report of outstanding cases, and they filtered through that paper report to see what day they needed to follow up on what things. With Evolve, we now have a real-time workflow. I can see it out in the field. If someone in the office adds a case, it immediately displays in my workflow, and it's really easy to see what requires an initial inspection or what's a follow-up case or what might be able to wait based on the caseload. This is what the workflow looks like. The red things are overdue, so they're just behind a day, a month, 2 months, however long they've been waiting for future action. And then the ones that are the regular text are ones that are due today or have compliance dates of today. The red is overdue. The other nice feature with this is if you clicked on the address, it opens Google Maps, so it easily tells you where to go or how to get there. And then in our car, when we're on field access, we can have it navigate there for us. And the field access is also huge, so if the office were to put something in there and we're out, I can see it right away and be able to go look at it right away. Pre-evolve, we were very limited on reports. You could really only run them based on inspector and date range. With evolve, the sky's the limit. Obviously with evolve writing them, but they can be very vague reports to really detailed and specific reports. We also have the ability to set up and schedule email reports on a weekly, monthly, daily, yearly basis. As Brian alluded to, we also do have a feature within the online portal available to anybody with internet access, and you can search any of the cases to see the status, any violations that may be present. This is what you can see in the details of a case. So the big key features are the status and then any relevant violations with their compliance dates. Other features that we've along the way discovered and been able to incorporate within Evolve, specifically with the code enforcement piece, is the different public works pieces that we've also been able to integrate with the garage and things like that. As well as Brian had mentioned, the weights and measures and the other license renewals. Therefore, again, creating a lot more efficiencies in our office in general. And to show how much we use this software just in code enforcement, in 2019, we managed 1,044 cases overall. That would be it. Any questions?
Anyone? Well, very nice. Thank you very much for the update. Appreciate it. And Chris, go ahead.
I'd just like to acknowledge both Katie and Brian for their work on this. Brian had the vision to go out and find this software, and as he mentioned, Katie was a big resource to helping put it into action. It has had a dramatic impact on our office. Many have heard me talk about the goal of 24/7, 365, where we are able to provide service at any point and not require people come to the office. Our foot traffic has dropped off considerably because of this. And Brian and Katie both mentioned the advantages well beyond what we had originally anticipated. I would concur with Brian that the software has more than paid for itself in a number of different ways, and we couldn't be happier. Brian thought he was going to get out of here without having to show up after 35 years, but he's a week and a few days away from his last day here. Thank you.
Jim has a question. Kathy, real quick here. Go ahead.
Brian, just a real quick question on the combined permit situation where the main contractor takes out the permit and subs do not. Is there any issue with trying to track down whether those subcontractors are licensed?
Check them on the field.
Okay.
We check against that in the field. So when we're in the field, it was the same case before. They would take out permits. Sometimes the contractor would switch by the time the project was finished.
Okay.
So it's basically the same process as we had before, only we're collecting the fees up front, we're getting the names up front, and then when we're in the field, we make sure it's the same contractor that's assigned to it, and then if it's not, we can adjust that.
Great, thank you.
Kathy, did you have a question?
Yep, just one for Katie. Last time you came before us, you said really horrible things about the company that we had for a different software and a different time.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, curiosity is killing me here. These guys aren't like that, right?
No, not at all. I probably talk to them once or twice a week, just in general about life or where a report's at and things like that. Very, very much the opposite.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Glad to hear that.
Yep.
Thanks for your hard work.
Yes,
State
thank
it.
you.
Anybody else? Well, Brian, you started in what year?
1985.
1985. I knew that answer. I just had to ask because I started in 1985, April, and Brian had been here a couple months. So I was here in 1985 when Brian started. Alderman Stevenson was here?
No, 87. Sorry.
87,
Yeah,
okay.
Brian trained me.
But some of us were here, and I just want to tell you, from my behalf, and you've done a wonderful job here in the city. You've had a great career. You have made a difference to this community. I want to thank you. I know you have the, not the motorhome, but the camping, the trailer all ready to go, hooked up, and going to take off very soon, you and your wife, and enjoy some time. So I just want to say thank you for everything you've done for the citizens of this community and for this city. So thanks very much.
And I want to say thank you back to the city of Neenah. It's been an enormous opportunity for me. It's been a career that I enjoyed, and all the inspectors that I talk to are envious of me working in Neenah. Neenah's got a very good high profile out there, and Neenah's been better for me than probably I have been for it. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Katie, thank
Brian,
you.
I just want to say enjoy Fargo with that RV.
And Katie and Brian, thank you for your presentation. I think it's very helpful for the council and us to hear this. So thank you.
Don't be late tomorrow.
All right, well, thank you, Chris. There are no mayor's appointments tonight. Item number 3 is approval of council proceedings of January 22nd, 2020 special session and the committee of the whole minutes of January 22nd, 2020.
Move to approve.
Nope, I'll ask unanimous consent. Is there any objection for a motion? I'm sorry. Alderman Erickson moves.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Boyat. Thank you. Any discussion? Ask unanimous consent. Objection? Anyone object to unanimous consent? Seeing none, that's so ordered. Thank you. There are no public hearings. No Plan Commission, Public Safety Services. Nope. Brings us to item number 6, a public forum. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to the council on any item that they would like? Now would be the time. We have a committee of the whole after this with regards to a specific agenda item. But if there's someone who'd like to speak now, now's the time. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the council during a public forum? Anyone who'd like to address the council? Okay, seeing no one, we will close the public forum. Item number 8 is the consent agenda. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Alderman Stevenson moves, seconded by Alderman Bates. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, is there any objection to unanimous consent in approving the consent agenda? Hearing no objection, that's so ordered. Item number 9 is the reports of standing committees, Public Services and Safety Committee meeting of January 28th. Chairman Bates.
Thank you, Mayor. Committee recommends council approve the installation of new vinyl flooring by D&M Flooring America for an estimated cost of $23,000 and purchase of a new floor cleaning machine for an estimated cost of $7,000, and I would so move.
Second.
There's a motion by Alderman Bates, seconded by Alderman Lang. Any council discussion? Alderman Bates.
Thank you, Mayor. when we had discussion on changing budget items and things like that, we have added in the machine that wasn't there before, but it's still under the amount that they were just going to spend on flooring. So does that require any sort of?
It is within the purview of the subject matter that was being budgeted for, the flooring that is.
And they said that the machine is specifically designed for a different wash pattern because of its grooves. Thank you.
And this is for the police department, correct?
Yes.
Anyone else? Seeing no one else, all in favor of the motion will vote aye. All opposed will vote no using the roll call machine. That motion passes 8-0.
Committee recommends council authorize the police department to negotiate the immediate purchase of vehicles to maximize incentives for a 2020 Chevrolet Equinox LT crossover SUV, a 2020 Hyundai Santa Fe SE SUV, or alternate 2020 Hyundai Tucson SEL crossover SUV, a 2019 Dodge Caravan SE van, a pre-owned 2019 Dodge Ram 1500 SLT pickup, and a 2020 Chevrolet Colorado with, I don't know what a WT is, pickup up to a maximum of $175,000 using the 2020 capital equipment funds, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman
Second.
Bates, seconded by Alderman Lane. There you go. So this is a purchase of 5 cars for utilizing in the police department. It was quite a discussion in committee, and a very good presentation was put together by Stu to help the committee make their decision.
Adam.
And it was very helpful.
It was Adam.
Oh, Adam, I'm sorry. Did I say Stu? Sorry, Adam. By Officer Adam Strabel, so we appreciate it very much because it was very well put together and a lot of good information in there. Alderman Boyette.
I have a couple of questions. I don't know who wants to take them from the police department.
Who do you want to, Adam, you want to come up maybe and chief?
Whoever. Just
That's in the scope of the question.
Go ahead.
they're pretty basic. Okay, so I read the memo and I read all the little number details and everything, and I'm curious, what is the year of the Ram that we have now, the Ram 1500?
2014.
It's a 2014. Okay, and then the pet lift, do we have one now? Can't we use that to?
No, we never did. Somebody donated a ramp,
Okay.
and it was ineffective. Anyway, no.
So we don't have
I'm just
one.
going to say no, we don't.
Okay,
And-
because my question then was going to be, well, I've never seen it used because every time I've called or helped with a stray in the neighborhood, border officers got
To hoist
that
them up,
big dog
right.
up and put it in the back of the
Right.
truck. Yeah, yeah. Okay, and then lastly, I'm just curious, and this is probably for you, but is there any way we can spread these purchases out so we're not buying 5 vehicles at once or every year? Like, can we do like 2 a year or 3 a year so it's not a big, oh my gosh?
That is our goal in the future. We're really looking at streamlining this over the next 5 years, but we're kind of playing the hand we were dealt, over the last 5 years prior to us. So it's something we're really looking at. We've talked to Mike. We're talking about leasing cars. We really want to revamp the future of purchasing vehicles. It's just we're in the stages of figuring that out. But so right now we need these, and then you're right. We have talked, and Adam's doing a great job of trying to figure out how we can make this better as we go forward.
Yeah, and I guess I'm surprised that you would say you could lease. I mean, I guess you probably could lease certain vehicles, but not your squads, because who's going to lease you a squad?
Well, there are some agencies who do, and there's benefits and there's cons, and we have a lot of data that we've been pulling from other police departments. We're not so convinced it'll be good for patrol cars, but it'll be good for admin and detectives and things like that.
Like daily drivers, more or less, not so much.
And that's
squad.
why we got such good prices on these vehicles that Adam did such a great job on, because we're buying things that are non-traditional police cars.
Okay.
In the past, we would buy pursuit-rated vehicles for our investigators. Well, when we really took a hard look at it, specifically Adam, did we really need that? So that's why this amount is so much less than what we had projected initially.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Bates?
Did you have something else?
Go ahead.
I'll follow up at the end.
Okay. Just a quick, when I was reading it, the Chevrolet Colorado W/T, is that just a model?
Work truck.
Work truck.
That's
Thank
the
you.
trim level.
Thank you.
It doesn't have all the extra frills, just basics.
Any other questions? Chief?
I would just like to take this opportunity to thank Adam. He's retiring on Friday after 25 years of service. He's going to be greatly missed. And as you can see from the memo and the spreadsheet, he does a fantastic job with these vehicles. So really want to thank him for all his hard work. He's going to be missed. And he keeps us all straight in the kitchen and makes sure everything's clean. And so that's an inside joke, but we're going to miss him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks, Adam.
Well, Adam, best wishes, congratulations on retirement, and I know we'll be seeing you around. So, okay, thank you very much. Job well done. Great career here in Neenah. Appreciate it, what you've done for us. Right, there is a motion on the floor. Purchase these vehicles. As was mentioned, they're quite a bit less than what we had budgeted for, so it was a good job.
Just the mayor, I'm sorry. Chief, were you able to get the worksheet that you had handed out at Public Services did to the rest of the council?
No, we did not. I'm sorry.
That'd be helpful for her question.
Right.
So there is a spreadsheet. You'll get that out,
We'll send that out.
everybody. The spreadsheet of the vehicles over the years that they're purchasing. So that'll help answer your question.
Yeah, thank you. Because
Okay.
when I was reading it, it gave all the details of everything else but the year of the truck. And I'm like, well, what year was it? So,
Yeah, the Public Safety Committee received that, but you guys did not, so our fault on that. But we are still working on streamlining it in the future. That's our goal now, but we want to make it better. But we'll send it to you.
thank you.
So, in summary, there are 30 vehicles in this spreadsheet. So, this is 5. So, if you rotate them, simple math says you rotate them one every 6 years, but obviously based on usage. But so, you usually have a challenge in front of them to try to improve the methodology. I like the leasing on certain concepts, but Mike has this issue.
All right. Thank you. Adam, you got one more job to do, and that's make sure that the chief sends that out but tomorrow, okay? And
You remind Jeff, and he'll remind me, and maybe we'll remember.
I'll give you something to do, Adam.
all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just one more quick.
Go ahead.
So to Alderman Stevenson's list there that he has of the number 30 vehicles you said?
It's not my list, but I have the list. That
The
he
list you
created.
have, yes. But didn't we just replace the squads? So we're like maybe halfway through that list?
Yep.
30% or so.
Okay. So not as bad as we think.
I think we're doing good, but we're always just trying to do better. So let's a lot of brainstorming ahead.
Thank you.
There's a motion and a second to purchase these vehicles for the police department. All in favor of that motion, vote aye. All opposed, vote no using the roll call machine, please. That machine, that
Motion.
vote passes 8-0.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much for the report. Item number B is the regular Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of January 27, 2020. Chairman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting out from the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting. The minutes can be found on the city website. Item number 1, the committee recommends council approve the updates to policy 2014-2 CDL policy, and I so move.
Second.
There's a motion by Alderman Erickson, seconded by Alderman Stevenson. Discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no using the roll call machine, please. That motion also passes 8-0.
Item number 2, The committee recommends council retain Attorney Amy Seibel to represent the city in the assessment appeals filed by CVS Drugstore and Walmart at a stated rate of $200 per hour, with Attorney Godlewski to inform the Common Council as to the estimated hours and scope of work from Attorney Seibel prior to the Common Council action. And I so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Erickson, seconded by Seconded by Alderman Lindrum, or Boyette. Alderman Boyette seconds it. Attorney Godlewski, would like to make a couple comments with regard to this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, I did distribute this evening, right before council, the memorandum they have before you that was responding to Chairman Erickson's concerns about the outside counsel. First of all, you have the scope of work that is described in there, heading up the litigation defense on these matters. It's pretty self-explanatory. As for the estimate of hours, as I dug into it further, first of all, I was not able to get a hold of Attorney Seibel until just this afternoon because of schedules not meshing. I've left several messages and finally got through to her today. She's been in mediation sessions on various cases she's handling. As far as the estimates of time, she indicated that the one expense that will be incurred in both cases is the specialized appraisal that's necessary to defend the assessment before the board that runs in the neighborhood of $8,000 to $10,000 per case. As far as the estimate of time, the big box assessment appeal from Walmart will likely take less time than other complicated cases because there's been a number of cases now that have been successfully defended by Attorney Seibel and others in the area as the big box, the dark box theory has lost some luster. As for the CVS case, the case law in that is still good law in terms of the Walgreens versus Madison case, that there's better precedent for the triple net lease arrangements that drugstores typically have. As a result, those cases are a little more likely to go to trial, and that will be additionally more time. In lieu of the fact that the estimates of time on each case is so variable based on the facts of the case, I will report back to the Finance Committee on a monthly basis as to the status of these cases, to give the information to the committee, to be able to oversee the actions and take action at that time as the matter proceeds that will allow for oversight by the committee. I asked Attorney Seibel if she had estimated hours, and she said it varies widely between cases. So give an estimate would likely not be accurate or less accurate than would be desirable. So at this point, I don't have an estimate of hours, but I do have scope of work listed here.
So who will you report to, Jim, that information monthly? Council President, a committee? Finance Committee?
Finance Committee, right. That I've asked
okay.
that be a standing item on the agenda.
Okay, good, thanks. I just wanted to be clear where we were going to report it to, that's all. And then I have one question. So they're asking for a lowering of their assessment. So you use the term specialized appraisal or specialized assessment. So we have to pay for specialized
to defend
appraisal.
Yes,
that's our cost. Our cost.
They have the taxpayer will present their case for the reduction in assessment based on an appraisal that they have. We have to respond to that, have our experts that can confirm what the assessor did. This is the same process that was followed back in 2012 or 13 when the Coles appeal happened.
So if we would prevail, is there any recouping of funds? I mean it's a house appraisal is a couple $100. These are at 8,000 to 10,000. So the taxpayers in the city incur this to defend it.
Right.
That seems okay. Alderman Coons.
Thank you, Mayor. While a estimate at this point may not be ideal, it's better than absolutely nothing, which is what we have right now. When I hear something going to court, I'm thinking $100,000 minimum, maybe $250,000, maybe $500,000. We're talking substantial dollars, I would think. So before I vote on something, I want to at least have some kind of vague clue about what I'm voting on, and I don't even have that. So I would at least look to our city attorney to give me some semi-idea about what we're talking about here as far as hiring someone for and spending, I don't know what.
Well, my guess, educated and based on past experience, would be that the cost of the CVS case may be as high as $50,000 to $75,000. I don't know how that breaks out in terms of time. The Walmart case, the experience we're having so far, the state is, other municipalities are having so far on that is that Walmart is looking to settle cases. That's likely to go, each case is required to go to mediation. That will likely settle at that point, which would probably be $25,000 to $40,000.
And that would all come to council when
right. Any proposed settlement would have to be approved by council.
And that's fine. And I know you're guessing. I know but your guess is better than mine. So I'd rather utilize that. So that gives me some issue. And I understand it's going to cost some money to try to defend yourself. We've learned that through many different lawsuits and cases that we end up having to spend city dollars to defend. Sometimes you could say, and I'm not trying to say these are, but outrageous claims sometimes and fraudulent issues. I mean, it's a cost of doing business sometimes, and it's unfortunate, but sometimes necessary. So thank you.
One of the drawbacks is that the American system of litigation for courts is that each side bears their own attorney's cost, except in civil rights cases. If this was a British system, the loser would bear the cost of the victor's attorney's fees on a reasonable basis. But we don't have that.
We're not going to move? Okay.
No, unfortunately, but.
Thank you.
Director Easker, would you like to add something?
Yeah, just again to provide perspective. I don't recall if we discussed this at committee or not. Just a reminder, for each $1 million of assessed value that disappears, that would cost the city approximately $8,300 per year and cost all jurisdictions about $20,000 per year. So that's for each million. So the fact is, this is, you've got an offset here, and if you multiply it times the number of years that are affected, it does lend a little better perspective on the need possibly to invest some money on the legal side to defend this.
And I never, I totally agree. I never questioned that.
Alderman Boyette.
So that was going to be my question to Director Easker, was it's not just, as the city attorney had suggested, with the up to 75 grand potentially in legal fees, but then it's the settlement and how much we're losing if we settle or come to agreement or lose or whatever, because we're still going to be paying more.
Well, we'll be losing revenue.
Loss.
Right, thank you.
Loss of revenue.
Which will have to be spread to the other types of properties, commercial, residential.
So hypothetical, with the numbers that the attorney gave us, what are we potentially looking at?
Well,
Just
again,
a guesstimate.
Right. I don't, and it's difficult. It's difficult. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, one of them, it was either Walmart or CVS, was asking for like about a $3 million reduction.
Right.
Walmart was asking for nearly $4 million.
Yeah, and so
if both appeals were successful, just under $4.2 million in commercial assessed value would be largely shifted to residential taxpayers.
Right,
That's the memo
which
we
is
got at committee.
essentially then from the city-only standpoint, you're talking about $35,000 a year in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
And from the overall taxing jurisdictions, close to $80,000 per year, and that's per year. So again, if
how many years was it?
Well, it's forever. In other words, however that assessment is lowered, once that standard is set, you currently then are not collecting tax on that for.
So it's not just the past couple of years.
Right.
It's indefinite.
It's everything moving forward as well.
Okay.
Correct.
And then one last question. I remember this going through committee, but did we cap this, or did we just cap the attorney fee?
The attorney, the cap was on the personal property assessment. challenge on Georgia Pacific. That was to report back at 250 hours.
Okay.
So and I do have some news to report on that once the questions are done with this. So
Okay, thank you.
This motion does set a rate of $200 per hour.
Right.
I remember that. I was just wondering if we wanted it, I can't remember if we wanted it to come back to committee at a certain amount or
It's going to come back every month.
if we capped it or whatever.
I will report it every month.
Every month.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Alderman Stevenson.
Thank you. Attorney Seibel is already a subcontracted employee of ours. We're paying her for some other work.
With the Georgia Pacific assessment, personal property assessment. That's
Right.
correct.
The council has taken specific action asking her, before we enter into a contract, that we get an estimate as to what the scope of work cost is going to be. She did not provide it. Or in your memo, she said that it would be a little more than a guess. I'll take her guess. I want to know what the guess is. It's not coincidental, in my personal opinion, that your range is about a 2.5 year payback. If at $60,000, you said 50 to 75, $60,000. If you take all the taxing entities, it's about in any good business when you invest or don't invest, you look at the payback and what's your. Now this goes on forever, so it's not. My defense isn't as strong as it could be, but we've asked our subcontractor for information. I expect to get it. That's a statement.
Okay.
We are incurring the bill for all the other taxing entities, correct? Or are we going to invoice the school district, the county, and the others who have the same benefit that we get by expending dollars?
My understanding would be that we're responsible for the assessment part of it, and there'd be no legal recourse to bill that back.
We don't have any basis to bill that back. What does get billed back is the share of any refund that goes to the taxpayer as a result of the action portion that's attributable. That refund includes the entire tax bill, all jurisdictions. We can bill back the cost of the taxes that are refunded that are attributable to the school district, state.
That's on commercial.
Right. What Jim is talking about, if there is any action to retroactively have money that the taxpayer has already paid, pay them back, we can bill that back to the jurisdiction. But any cost to defend our assessment
There's no basis
process, there's no legal basis to charge that back to anybody.
No legal basis to charge that back. So if we would decide if we would decide to eat our 8,300 a year for and then the next year come back with an assessment that, I mean, what opportunity do we have to react? I guess if we say, what $70,000 the city's going to pay, I guarantee it's like I shouldn't say this. If we're not going to get the estimate, it's going to be on the high end. If we're not going to tell us how much he's going to charge us, it'll be on the high end. It's a personal opinion, and every person has a right to challenge that. So we would say, our payback is 70,000 divided by 8,300. Within that time frame, if we can reevaluate the property to a level that's better for us, and that they don't challenge, might that not be a better? I don't know. I'm not an expert on it.
Well, first of all, with regard to the reassessment, they would have, unless we were doing an area-wide reassessment of properties around there, we can't just reassess individual properties.
Okay, well, then do them all. Do all them around there.
We could do a reassessment as we did this year. That's what prompted this appeal, because of the property was assessed after it was built, which was post 2011, I believe, but it hasn't been reassessed except for the mass appraisal system that is used there to adjust based on the factors that the assessment office uses. But as far as the issue of being on the high end or not, I can tell you I talked to other city attorneys in Wauwatosa, spoke with Green Bay assessor, all have marvelous things to say about the Attorney Seibel in terms of her ability to achieve a result that's desirable by the municipality at a reasonable cost. But
Did
again,
you get the reasonable cost?
No, I can go back and get that.
That's what the council asked for.
I understand, but for instance, when I talked to the city attorney in Wauwatosa, they have 11 outstanding cases involving major mall department stores. To find out what the cost was there would be incomparable to what we have going here.
Yeah, sure, of course, makes sense.
Anything else?
No, the motion, actually, if you read the motion, we're not getting what the motion says. Motion says, committee recommends the council retain Attorney Amy Seibel to represent the city in accessible appeals filed by CVS drugstore and Walmart and state the rate at $20 per city attorney to inform the Common Council as to the estimated hours and scope of work from Attorney Seibel prior to Common Council action. That's part of our motion. We haven't gotten that. So I can't support the motion.
Well, the scope of work is listed in there. That I do have.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I can't get information on the actual cost associated with these cases because each case has different factors that go into it. I can go back and ask again. I can do a survey of the other communities that have used her over the years, find out what exactly they paid, and come back to the council if that's what the council wishes. But I'm not sure that's going to tell you. And that's the reason why I suggested that I make a monthly report to the finance committee so they can understand where things are at and come back from that with the oversight that the committee feels is necessary.
Your memo tonight says, as for estimates of time projected for each case, that is dependent on multiple factors and making an estimate of time a little more than a guess. All I'm asking is I want a guess.
Well, I provided you with my guess.
Well, I want a subcontract. We asked to get her estimate because she's the expert. She's the one that's tried a number of these, especially the Walmart ones, and we are perceived to have some history on our ability to negotiate versus fight. So that number should be a little easier to get, I think, and give us the worst end. But we asked and we were kind of ignored.
I don't believe you were ignored. I asked the question. I wasn't able to get an answer because of the variety of factors that go into the different cases. That each case is different. If the council wishes to have me try again, or to survey the attorneys that I know that have used her and find out what they paid for historically, I can do that and come back to the next council meeting.
I'm just one, so I shared my thoughts. I can't support it because we aren't getting what we asked. I'll vote no.
Alderman Bates.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple of questions. Is this something that is a one-time question, or is it something that if they don't win this year, they can come back and hit us again next year?
It depends on how much they want to spend, because obviously they've got to retain their own attorneys on that. But the simple answer is yes, they can challenge the assessment each year. If we win the case on the assessment this year, they would have to show factors that have changed that would change the assessment, because there is some stare decisis in terms of the individual case has now been adjudicated as being fair. And so to come back and say it's not fair, they would have to demonstrate new reasons why.
And can we reassess them every year? If we lose and they get lowered, would we have to do a entire block of reassessments at that point in order to get
Yeah.
it? I'm just thinking that if they're using this sentence that we don't have a booming economy, i.e. shop goes empty, things like that, once that it gets filled and rents go up, that we could say, well, we're reassessing you, and is that a possibility as well?
The reassessment can't be done on an individual property basis. The property reassessment has to be done on a general basis.
Right, I meant like all commercial, I mean,
Yeah.
we don't have that many big boxes or
No.
drugstores, I mean.
Well, the assessment comparison is not necessary to properties within the city of Neenah. It would be a broader basis of that than, because the market is broader than just the city of Neenah for the value of the property. So the highest and best use would be looked upon probably throughout the state of Wisconsin in terms of analyzing whether it's a reasonable assessment or not.
Now, did we actually do the assessment? The city?
The commercial properties, yes.
So our
Industrial
people did them?
Yeah.
We didn't hire somebody?
Yeah.
Now, is there
Mark
any,
Brown.
does he have any skin in the game? I mean, I hire somebody to,
He's a professional, so I would say yes.
but other than, I mean, if,
Meaning if
we
he's
can't
going
go after him and say, you know, we lost, you assessed it wrong.
This, in my book, and I know this isn't true, but this is a frivolous lawsuit. There's nothing for them to lose by suing us, other than a little bit of money they spend on attorney's fees.
And then the other question I had is,
And answer your question, but I'm sorry that, so there's nothing that we would go back to our contract appraiser on, it would be my opinion.
I would agree with that.
would he give us any support?
He will
Sure.
definitely testify in support of his own assessment, and that will be part of the testimony.
Okay. All right. And then what's the total length of time for a case like this?
The Board of Review waived the claim that the way the process works is if they have to go to the Board of Review, then they appeal that ruling to the city. The Board of Review waived that process so that they could go straight to court to avoid the additional expense of the appeal through the Board of Review. They did not appear before the Board of Review.
So, but I mean, if we're going through with this from now, yeah,
I'm sorry, say that
when
again?
would it be settled, one way or the other?
If
Calendar year?
If it, well, probably in the neighborhood of a year and a half, just because of the time, the court calendars and so forth. I've only experienced one of these in my career, and that was the Coles case back earlier last decade, and that was ongoing for 4 or 5 years.
Thank you.
Alderman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question for Attorney Godlewski.
Sure.
Is this timely? Could we wait till the next council meeting before we took a vote on this to try to get additional information on scope of work?
Well, I don't think the scope of work is going to change from what my memo says.
But I mean, as far as the estimate?
The estimate, I think that this could be put off to the second meeting and the next meeting of the council. And what I will do is I will go back. Part of the issue here was that I attempted to get a hold of her after the council finance committee meeting. She was not available, and then I was gone on Thursday and Friday, so there was some timing issues there. But I can go back and talk to the other attorneys that in the area. Oshkosh has used her, Appleton's used her, Wauwatosa's, Hewlett, Green Bay, and find out what the cost, what they've spent in legal fees for their appeals, and I can report that back.
I think that would be helpful, and I think if you talked to her one more time and said you're kind of in between a rock and a hard place where your council really would like an estimate of some sort, maybe she would be forthcoming.
Sure.
So I'm going to withdraw my motion.
Well, actually, if you would move to postpone action.
Okay.
The motion.
All right.
to the next
I will
meeting.
move to postpone action on my motion.
Second.
Is it Alderman Erickson moves to postpone this item until the next council meeting?
That's correct.
And that's seconded by Alderman Stevenson. It is a debatable motion. So if people that are in the queue would still like to talk or not. Okay. Alderman Coons?
Thank you, Mayor. City Attorney Godlewski, if you're going to give us monthly updates, could we reassess this project at any time? I mean, say it's now $50,000 we haven't got, now it's going to go to trial, whatever else. We could say, you know what, we're going to change the scope or we're going to change our mind. Could we do that as a council?
Yes.
Okay. So part of it is, I had the original concern, as I think it's been stated, hey, how much is it going to cost? But the reality is when you deal with lawyers, you have a scope of work and you go to trial, well, who knows, depending on how many roadblocks are thrown ahead, depending on what judge you get, depending on many different things, this thing could, go wherever it is. It's a hard one to estimate that dollar amount. I think the way it's set up, if we get monthly updates, we as a council can say, you know what, this is getting too rich for our blood. We don't like how this is going, or we want to reassess this. We want to change how we're doing this. I think that gives us more flexibility than waiting to get some rough number from an attorney who's which isn't any more accountable than anything else. It's just an estimate. So what? It doesn't say that we haven't put. You can't spend over $100,000. We haven't said anything. So it still comes down to the same thing: our monthly update and our ability to reassess. I don't see any delay necessary in that. That gives us, I think, the council flexibility to make any decision it wants on a monthly basis based on probably better information, because we'll have updates and we'll know better how we stand. That's my opinion, anyways.
I'm sitting here listening. I'm not an expert in any way in this, but I presume it's in any defense or situation like this, it's what the other side does too. What Walmart puts into this, what they bring up, that's going to have an impact on what our attorney has to do, expert witnesses, things like that. So I don't know if you can predict what the opposition is going to do in any trial. And I'm trying to, figure this out. So if someone gets in trouble and they hire an attorney for a criminal case, I presume they say, how much is this going to cost me about? And I would guess they give probably an estimate, but that's what it is. It's an estimate. And at the end of the day, if it's your kid or whatever who's the one on trial, you're going to spend what it is. But you get it to the finish line. But I don't know exactly, so I'm kind of listening and taking this all in. Alderman Boyette?
Thank you. Attorney Gillespie, I have just a quick request. I know we're asking for a guesstimate or whatever. At the very least, could you get from her fees? Every time you hire an attorney, you get the attorney's fees, the hourly rate, then what they charge for this, that, and the other thing. There's a list of fees. If she can't...
That's already, it is $200 an hour plus expenses.
Okay, but that's what I want. I want to know what the expenses are, because I just hired an attorney, and I have a breakdown of what copies cost, what services cost. Everything was estimated, and I had a breakdown, and it showed me what I paid for what service that was given to me, other than the attorney's fee. And so I guess if we had that, it would help us. And then we could potentially have that number.
Well, the major expense is going to be
the hours.
Well, the expense, that's a fee. The hours are related to the fee amount. The expense, the major expense is the appraisal that's done to defend the assessment.
Well, I think that'll be a significant amount, but I don't think it'll be significant to what we're going to pay this attorney. That's $10,000 for an assessment.
Right.
The attorney is going to cost us more, a lot more than $10,000.
That's not good. You're talking about the fee, right? And I've asked her to estimate that, and that's what I've been having difficulty with, because factors in each case will depend on what's happening.
And that's understandable. We don't know how many hours she's going to end up charging us. We'll know as we go. Mm-hmm. But I guess I'm just looking at, if we had a list of her charges for her fees, and not just attorney fee, but all the incidentals that they charge for, that would give us more idea too.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
You're talking about incidental expenses like copy machines. travel,
and right,
mileage.
and things that the staff has to do, and yes, exactly, a breakdown of services.
All right. You have anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Alderman Bates.
I'll pass.
A pass, okay. Anyone else? I guess I would just interject here. So, I mean, I presume you can say, how much did it cost to defend the Delafield case? How much did it cost to defend the Wauwatosa case? Even though they're probably totally different cases, or I don't know that. I mean, I don't have a clue. But I guess it would give the council some range then to say, boy, you know, it costs. So if they can even get that, I think that would be helpful, because then they could say, wow, you know, here's what you know, you get 5-6 cases, you see a trend. So maybe you could do that.
Yeah. What we asked out of committee, we knew we weren't going to get a good. I mean, like $35,640. We knew we asked for a range, range of hours based on her experience with Walmart and guesstimate based on CVS.
Okay, so there is a motion and a second to postpone this item until the next meeting. Seeing no more further discussion, all in favor of the motion, vote aye. All opposed, vote no on postponement till the next council meeting. That motion passes 8-0.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Item number C, the New Menasha Fire Rescue Joint Finance Personnel Committee meeting of January 28th, 2020. Council President Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting out from the Neenah Fire Rescue Joint Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of January 28th. The committee recommends that the cities of Neenah and Menasha Common Councils approve the Memorandum of Understanding for the fire response on Interstate 41 with Neenah Menasha Fire Rescue, Town of Inland Fire Department, and the Town of Neenah Fire Department, and I would so move.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Seconded by Alderman Boyette. Any questions, comments? In case you know, if you read the minutes and that, fine. But this is very. Chief Clone explained to me what this does, and it seems to make all kinds of sense in partnership with the town of Inland and how we handle calls out there, and going to save us time and energy, and going to save the town also. So it's a very efficient way to provide safety services out there on that highway. So good job by the committee. Anyone else? All in favor of that motion, vote aye. All opposed, vote no. Using the roll call machine, please. That motion passes 8-0.
The committee recommends that the City of Neenah and City of Menasha Common Councils approve the combined recruit class memorandum of understanding for training between Neenah Menasha Fire Rescue and Oshkosh Fire Department, and I would so move.
Second.
There's a motion by Alderman Stevenson, seconded by Alderman Boyette. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no, using the roll call machine. That motion passes 8-0.
That concludes our report, Mayor.
Thank you. Item number 10. We have a report from the February 5th, 2020 Committee of the Whole meeting. Council President Stevenson.
Okay.
That was for tonight's Committee of the Whole meeting.
Right. The committee moved to the committee recommended to the council the scope adjustment for the 2020 capital improvement plans for Arrowhead Park, keeping the dollars the same and reducing the scope of work per the memo from Director Mike Kading. I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Stevenson.
Second.
Is there a second?
Want me to do it again? Yes?
Oops. Motion by Alderman Stevenson. Is there a second?
Second.
Alderman Coons? Alderman Coons seconds it. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor vote aye. All opposed vote no using the roll call machine, please. That motion passes 8-0. Thank you for the report. Landmarks Commission report, Alderperson Lang.
Thank you, Mayor. The Landmarks Commission met last on January 14th. We discussed the commission bylaws. We elected officers, and then we briefly discussed the possibility of changing our meeting date to a different night of the week so as not to conflict with other committees, and we'll be discussing that at subsequent meetings, and that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. The Sustainable Neenah Committee, is there any report, Alderperson Coons?
I have no report this time.
Thank you. Report neighborhood groups, the Business Improvement District Board, the Bid Board, Alderperson Lang, any report?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The bid board met last on January 21st, and just a couple of things to report. The annual meeting for the bid board will be held on March 10th at the future Neenah office building. It will be a breakfast meeting from 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., so all are welcome to join that and find out what's going on with the bid board. Also, a couple of new business updates. There's a Krav Maga club that has opened in the Chase building called Fortitude, and another business as well, Todd Reed as a business coach. So those are both in the Chase building. And then finally, just a couple of updates on events going on. The Warm Your Heart event for the bid is on February 8th. That's this weekend. And Ultimate Ladies Day would be coming up on April 25th. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Item number F is the report from the Bergstrom Mallory Museum. Alderperson Spellman.
Thank you, Mayor. The last meeting was held on January 22nd. In terms of the current exhibits, there's one called Wisconsin Ideas Global Influences, and that runs through February 22nd. And then some upcoming events in February are Coffee with a Curator on February 18th. The Art Alliance for Contemporary Glass Wisconsin Artists is going to be on February 20th in the evening. And then they also want everyone to note that you can purchase Valentine's Day gifts and things made out of glass in their gift shop if you need to do any last-minute shopping for Valentine's Day. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Item number 11, there are no petitions. Any council directives anyone would like to talk about? Any unfinished business? Unfinished business? Seeing none. Under item number 14, new business, any announcements or questions that may legally come before the council? Anyone have any announcements or new business? Alderman Bates.
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to ask our finance director, we have another retirement coming up in his department as well this week, don't we?
We do. As a matter of fact, Assistant Treasurer Judy Kristovich is ending her career of over 20 years with the city, last 15 or so with the finance department as currently as assistant treasurer, and her last day is Friday.
Any cake?
You'll have to show up and find out, I guess.
At like around what time?
Doors open at 9.
You mean you start business at 9?
No, just party doors open at 9.
The party doors.
Party doors open at 9. I did listen. Jane's party starts at 6:30 a.m., not p.m.
Yes,
a.m.
right.
That bid board was a.m. 6:30 a.m.
I'm sorry, Mayor, and since it's brought up, it is my intention to introduce to you our new assistant treasurer at an upcoming council meeting. I think it's a good idea for you to meet her. Her name is Amber Adams, and she has been being tutored under Judy Kristovich for the past 3 weeks or so, and but she will be on her own starting next week. So.
Alderman Coons.
Thank you, Mayor. On new business, I was wondering if I could make a request. I'm not sure I did this electronically. It's a little foggy, but and maybe maybe I don't want to just be the only person, but if we talk about the CIP coming up, in particular when we look at TIF 10 and where that sits, I would ask that we maybe have a greater definition of expenses and things going on there. As I look at it, I see different dollars allocated without great specificity to those numbers. There's a lot of heavy lifting we want to do in that one. I'd love to get a greater idea of the greater detail on that, given the status of that one as well. I may be the only person interested in that. I thought I'd throw that out there as we address that one. I think what we have in there a lot of times is, we have $200,000 for parking assembly or these kind of rough kind of things. And I know it's hard to get more specific, but it is one where I think we need to get a little more specific in this one if we can. Just a request.
Okay. This is our last council meeting before the election, so I'd just like, so folks that are watching, there will be an election. The primary election is February 18th. Clerk reminds me, that's February 18th. That's a Tuesday. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. Early voting has started in the city clerk's office. So the number of items on the February ballot is not a lot, but if you would like to, one item, a Supreme Court race, but if someone would like to, if they're going on vacation or something, they're welcome to stop at City Hall anytime. We're open Monday through Thursday, 7:30 till 4:30, and Friday, 7:30 till 4, and they're welcome to come in the clerk's office and vote. So I just wanted to make that announcement about voting. The last day to early vote is February 14th, which is that Friday, correct? So, all right. That's all I have. One other one, Alderman Erickson.
I have a question. I was just wondering, I don't know if this is new business or unfinished business, but is there going to be an update on New Park coming up? What's happening at several meetings ago, we talked about that and what's going on with that.
Yes, okay. I don't think we've scheduled one yet.
Right.
We've been meeting regularly still. We also sent a team to Stevens Point. I don't know if that was brought up yet, but we sent a team to Stevens Point to actually view a different vendor. There has been some, I would say, progress made on New Park, so maybe it would be good to have someone either do a memo or bring it before the committee here in February. Okay?
Thank you.
Good suggestion. Alderman Bates.
Thank you, Mayor. I mentioned this to you once before. Have we gotten any information updating schedules and profitability of the Appleton Exposition Center? I know you're on their committee, and if you get any information, send it out sometime.
Yeah, I'm on the advisory committee. We have not met for a few months, to be perfectly honest. The chair calls the meetings. At our last meeting, the question was brought up by Chuck Kuhn, who's the village president, Kimberly, to see some P&L statements, profit and loss statements, and see how they're doing. We were told at that time by Appleton officials that information is proprietary and that they couldn't share that. So when pressed by committee members, Mayor Hanna had then told us as committee members that he would look into that and discuss that more with their staff to see if some of that information could be shared. Because we brought Pam Seidel, Visitors Convention Bureau, and Chuck and myself brought to their attention that the Monona Terrace shares that information and a couple other facilities share some of that information. It is an Appleton facility, They are ultimately responsible for it. So I will bring that up once again at the next meeting and see if they've made a decision on it.
If they need to redact whatever conventions are going there, I'm fine
Yeah.
with that. It's just more the fact that how are they
Yeah.
doing? Yes.
There is some concern about some of the organizations that have meetings in that there don't want that public
Right.
for security reasons, things like that. And that's part of their concern. So they were going to review it internally and bring it back to that advisory committee.
And
okay?
on the other side of that is how are we doing on our what money we're collecting from taxes? I know they said that there'd be a trickle down from people wanting to stay in our city because they couldn't find someplace up there, and now they've built all these hotels up there, and I doubt the trickle down is.
Yeah, if you remember one of our early meetings, there were no plans for any hotels, additional hotels, and now there is. But I will tell you, the hoteliers in this area have told us that they do see some residual benefit. In dollars, Mike, have you noticed anything substantial?
My understanding is it's still likely too early to tell, especially from the Champion Center side. I think that may be more direct benefit to the city of Neenah. Exhibition Center, again, there has been no way to really determine if our hotels are benefiting from that based just upon the raw numbers that we get.
And once the Champion comes in, I could imagine the numbers might go up, but at least now we've got the numbers for just the exhibition center.
I mean, we have to also understand this is happening in the context of a much better economy overall for everybody. So more people are using hotels, traveling, notwithstanding what's going on in Appleton or Grand Chute.
I know I've seen teams, hockey teams, and that staying at one of our Neenah hotels. So encountered them in the dining area. So, I can tell you that. And I will also tell you, just to take it a step back, I mean, I think the Champion Center, as I understand it, and Chris can expound on it, is off to a great start. Utilization is way up. Then taking a step back with regards to the Exhibition Center, the hotel, the managing partner of it, they tell us that they are more than breaking even. That's what they'll tell us.
And you would think that you'd request some sort of yearly information from them just because if you're contributing to their, right, as you said, the P&L.
Yeah, they're not willing to share that at this point.
Just two things. The trickle down from the exhibition centers, as Mike alluded to, is difficult because the theory there is displacement in other hotels, primarily by teams, or I take that back, not teams, by attendance at a convention. The displaced individuals would end up in our hotel. So it's not that easy to track why they're here, just simply to look at the numbers.
But at least they would have a growth in, if we didn't have them and they didn't come here to stay.
So generally, having seen numbers in terms of occupancy rates, room nights, those things, we continue to trend upward from year to year. In regards to the Champion Center, Executive Director Pam Seidel is going to be here in the next week or two, specifically to comment on the Champion Center. Be a good time to ask her those
She just sent
questions.
an email to Chris and I, and I think we got her down for the 19th. February 19th, Alderman Stevenson.
Yeah, I was included.
We got her down for the 19th because she's like to come and give us a quick little update. So that's good.
Well, yeah, she's got something she's giving us something.
Yeah, she's actually.
I'm not sure how much of a presentation.
Give us an update.
Yeah,
She was going to do an open session, and it's not a hotel nights, so don't get excited.
Not yet.
It's not a weekend away.
Not yet.
No.
All right, well, thank you. Any other announcements from anyone? We do have, after we're going to adjourn this meeting and go into a committee of the whole to discuss another issue. But with that, seeing no other announcements, is there a motion?
Move to adjourn. Second.
There's a motion for adjournment and a second. All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We are adjourned. Thank you very much. We'll take a short.
Broadcasts of the City of Neenah Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin, Fox Valley. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents via the city website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues or about these broadcasts by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or by completing the electronic feedback form on the city website, www.neenahgov.org. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.